Welcome back to Talk Tickers. We're going to break down another earnings call today.
All right.
It's going to be a good one.
Looking forward to it.
This one is Johnson Controls.
JCI.
Ticker symbol JCI. They just had their earnings call on November 6th.
Fresh off the press.
Fresh off the press. Trying to get this one out for you guys nice and early.
Absolutely.
I always say that, earnings calls can be a little bit dry.
Yeah.
But we try to extract the good stuff out of it.
We'll extract all the insights.
Right.
The good parts.
So for anyone who's maybe new to the show.
Okay.
Or just needs a reminder, Johnson Controls, they're a global leader in building solutions.
Yeah. Making buildings safer, more sustainable, more efficient.
They're the brains behind a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. They're behind the scenes for a lot of us.
When you think of your office's HVAC system.
HVAC.
The security tech, fire safety systems, all that good stuff.
Yeah, and increasingly we're seeing them in the data center space as well, which is really interesting.
Yeah, and the CEO, George Oliver, you can tell he's proud of the transformation that they've undergone. They've streamlined their portfolio. They're really laser focused on these commercial buildings now.
Yeah, they've really carved out a niche for themselves in this space.
Right.
It seems like it's been paying off, too. They're seeing some great growth and profitability.
Yeah, and it puts them in a great position, what do you say, for the future?
Yeah, I think so, especially as we look at
where sustainability and smart buildings are, well, just becoming more and more essential.
Absolutely. Those are big buzzwords right now, and JCI is right in the thick of it.
Yeah, and speaking of being in the thick of it, one thing that really jumped out at me from the call was their growth in data centers.
Oh, yeah, explosive growth.
I mean, we're not talking about a little uptick here.
No, their orders more than doubled.
More than doubled.
Which is wild.
Yeah, I mean, that was something that I circled.
A big takeaway.
Immediately, I was like, okay, this is something that we're going to have to dive into a little bit deeper. Because clearly, data centers are a huge focus for JCI.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? These data centers are massive energy consumers.
Oh, yeah.
They're using a ton of electricity to keep those servers running, and cooling is critical.
I was actually just reading an article about this the other day.
Interesting.
And it was saying how data centers globally now use as much electricity as a small country.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's wild. Like, it's absolutely wild. So, you can see why JCI is so interested in this market.
Makes sense.
And they're not just dipping their toes in. They're going all in.
Yeah, they mentioned these multi-year orders worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
I know, it's incredible.
Huge contracts.
Yeah, and what I like about that is it shows they're not just, chasing short-term gains.
They're in it for the long haul.
Right, they're forming these long-term partnerships, which is, that shows confidence.
Strategic partnerships.
So strategic. Okay, so we've got this data center boom. It's exciting.
Yeah.
But what about the bottom line?
Right.
Did this translate into profits?
Yeah, you bet it did. They saw a 22% jump in their adjusted EPS.
Wow.
Earnings per share in Q4 2024.
22%.
Yeah, absolutely crushed analyst expectations too.
All right, so is it all thanks to data centers?
It's partly the data center growth for sure.
Okay.
But they've also been really focused on operational efficiency and taking on these higher margin projects, which obviously helps boost their profitability.
Right. So it's not just like one magic bullet. It's like a combination of factors all working together.
It's a multi-pronged approach.
Exactly.
And it seems to be working for them.
Okay. Well, let's maybe take a closer look at JCI's two main business segments, because I think that's where we're going to see how all of this comes together.
Sure.
So we've got global products and we've got building solutions.
Okay.
And let's start with global products, because as I understand it, this is kind of like their bread and butter.
Yeah, this is where they really make the building blocks for everything else.
Okay, so give us the rundown. What all falls under global products?
So we're talking about HVAC systems, fire and security systems, industrial refrigeration, really a wide range of offerings.
Okay, so it's really kind of like the foundation of a lot of their solutions.
Exactly.
And they're seeing some impressive returns on those building blocks, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. They saw a 700 basis point margin expansion in Q4.
Okay, now I know basis points can sound a little technical.
Yeah.
So can you break that down for us? What does that actually mean for their bottom line?
Sure. Essentially, it means their profit margin on those global products increase significantly, which is a fantastic sign. They've clearly been investing strategically in this segment, and those investments are paying off.
So for every $100 they made selling those products, they're keeping, what, $7 more than they were before?
Something like that, yeah. It's a big improvement.
All right, so global products doing great. What about building solutions? Is that where we see everything coming together.
Yeah, this is where they really tailor solutions to specific needs.
Okay, so it's not just about selling individual products.
Right, they're creating these integrated systems that work together seamlessly.
All right, and how's that segment performing? I'm guessing pretty well if they're seeing this much success in data centers.
Yeah, building solutions is also booming. They saw double-digit revenue growth and a record backlog, which is a really strong indicator for future performance.
So they've got a lot of projects in the pipeline.
Yeah, demand is high.
And they highlighted some of their key verticals, right? Like which industries are they really targeting?
Yeah, aside from those data centers, they're seeing a lot of success in government, healthcare, and higher education.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they even mentioned strong growth in their service business, which is always a good sign.
Service is always a good indicator, right?
Yeah, usually means customers are happy and they're coming back for more.
It means recurring revenue. Okay, so things are looking pretty rosy for JCI.
They seem to be firing on all cylinders.
Right. But they're not just sitting back and, enjoying the ride, are they?
No, they're not resting on their laurels. They've got this pretty major restructuring plan in the works.
Okay, now restructuring can sound a little bit scary.
Yeah.
When you hear that, some people might think, oh, are they in trouble? But in this case, it actually seems like a really positive sign.
Yeah, it's all about streamlining their operations even further.
Right, so they're projecting what, $500 million in annual cost savings?
Yeah, once it's all said and done.
It's serious cash.
It's a big number.
So they're not just trying to, squeeze every last penny out of their current business model.
No, they're actively adapting and positioning themselves for the future.
Right, and that's what you want to see, right? A company that's thinking long-term, not just short-term.
Exactly, they're playing the long game.
Okay, so far so good, JCI. Sounds like they're really killing it.
Yeah, it's been a very positive earnings call.
But we always like to take a balanced view here, Talk Tickers.
Yeah.
Not everything is always sunshine and rainbows.
Right, we got to look at both sides of the coin.
So let's maybe shift gears a little bit and talk about some potential risks.
Yeah, there are always risks to consider.
Because no investment is a sure thing.
Exactly.
So even though JCI is in a great position right now, what are some of the things that investors should maybe be keeping an eye on?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, the data center market is booming, but it's also incredibly competitive.
Right?
So JCI has established itself as a leader, but they're going to have to keep innovating to stay ahead of the curve.
Right.
Think even more efficient cooling technologies, smarter energy management systems, that kind of thing.
So they can't afford to rest on their laurels. They got to stay ahead of the competition.
Exactly. Complacency can be dangerous in any industry.
Okay, that's a good point. What else? What about the broader economic picture?
Yeah, that's always something to keep in mind. Economic downturns can make businesses hesitant to invest in new building projects, which could impact demand for JCI's solutions.
So even though they're diversified, they're not immune to what's happening in the overall economy.
Right. They're still exposed to those macroeconomic factors.
Okay, but overall, would you say that JCI is in a good position to weather any potential storms?
Yeah, I think so. They've got a diversified business model, a global reach, and they've got a really strong track record of adapting to change.
They've been around for a while.
Yeah, they've seen a lot and they've come out stronger.
Right. It's not their first rodeo.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I think we've covered the core takeaways from this earnings call pretty thoroughly.
Yeah, we've hit the main points.
But now it's time for the fun part.
Oh, yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
For our This Is Not Financial Advice segment.
Hit me with it.
So listener, buckle up.
Get ready.
Because based on everything we've learned, I'm thinking call options on JCI.
Whoa, call options. Those are leveraged investments.
They are.
Which means they can amplify both gains and losses.
I know, it's exciting.
It's not for the faint of heart. Price.
High risk, high reward.
Exactly. That's what makes it outrageous.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
But hear me out.
All right, I'm listening.
The data center sector is on fire right now.
It's red hot.
Red hot. And JCI is right in the middle of it. They're the ones putting out the fire, with their cooling systems.
Okay, I like that.
So if they keep exceeding expectations and these massive contracts keep rolling in,
okay.
well, let's just say their stock price could really take off.
Okay, so you're betting on continued growth in the data center sector.
I am.
But let's not forget about the competition, right? There are other players in this space.
Right, of course.
And as we discussed, the overall economy can always throw a curveball.
Right, always a risk.
Right.
So it's not a guaranteed win?
Of course not. That's what makes it exciting.
Okay, fair enough.
But hey, if JCI hits triple digits,
Yeah.
Remember where you heard it first.
All right, I'll give you that.
This is just for entertainment purposes only.
Always good to reiterate that.
We are not financial advisors.
Do your own research.
Do your own research. Talk to a professional.
Make informed decisions.
Make informed decisions.
Don't take our word for it.
Absolutely.
We're just two guys talking about earnings calls.
Exactly.
But sometimes it's fun to speculate a little.
It is. It is. And speaking of speculating, this earnings call got me thinking about something.
Oh, seriously?
JCI is clearly betting big on data centers, and it seems like it's paying off. But I'm curious,
Okay.
what other industries or trends could they tap into to really solidify their position as, the leader in sustainable building solutions?
That's a great question. What other sectors are ripe for disruption? Are there any emerging technologies that they could leverage to create even more value?
Lots to ponder there.
A lot to think about.
All right, folks. Well, that's it for part 1 of our deep dive into Johnson Controls.
We've got a lot more to cover, so stay tuned.
We'll be back soon to explore more aspects of this fascinating company. But for now, keep those brains buzzing.
Absolutely, and we'll see you in part 2.
See you then.
Welcome back to Talk Tickers. We're still in the middle of dissecting this Johnson Controls earnings call.
Right. And there's a lot more to unpack here.
Yeah.
So let's pick up where we left off. We
Okay.
talked about their global products segment.
Uh-huh.
And, they mentioned that 700 basis point margin expansion,
Right.
which sounds really impressive.
Yeah.
But, basis points, I think for a lot of listeners, that can sound a little abstract.
Yeah. It can be a little jargony.
Yeah,
It's not always the most intuitive metric.
Right. Let's break it down for them. Like, what does that actually mean for their profitability?
Sure. So essentially, their profitability on those global products went up significantly.
Okay.
So think of it like this. For every $100 they made from selling those products, their profit increased by $7.
Okay. So that's a big deal.
It's a substantial improvement.
Yeah.
It really speaks to their focus on operational efficiency and their smart investments in this segment.
All right. So global products covers a pretty wide range of offerings, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty broad portfolio.
From HVAC systems to industrial refrigeration. Like, what stood out to you as particularly interesting in that segment?
You know what caught my eye was their mention of new innovations in HVAC technology.
Okay.
Specifically, they're developing systems that are even more energy efficient and use refrigerants with a lower environmental impact.
So even more sustainable.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And this is really important because HVAC systems are major energy consumers, especially in commercial buildings.
Right. So they're not just making their systems more profitable, they're also making them more sustainable.
Exactly. It's a win-win,
Okay.
both for JCI and for the planet.
And it kind of ties back to that, theme of sustainability that we were talking about earlier. JCI is really positioning themselves as a leader in this space.
Absolutely. They're really walking the walk.
So I'm curious, we talked a lot about data centers,
Right.
but what about their other target markets?
Right.
Where else are they seeing strong demand for their building solutions?
They specifically highlighted strong performance in the government, healthcare, and higher education sectors.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What's driving that growth?
Well, government buildings are always looking for ways to improve energy efficiency and reduce costs.
Makes sense.
So JCI's solutions are a natural fit there.
Yeah.
Healthcare facilities, especially hospitals, have really complex needs when it comes to HVAC, security, fire safety.
Right.
So JCI's expertise in integrated systems is really invaluable in that sector.
Okay.
And universities are increasingly focused on creating modern, sustainable campuses,
Makes sense.
to attract students and faculty.
Right.
And JCI solutions can really help them achieve those goals, whether it's upgrading aging infrastructure or building brand new facilities.
So they're not just riding the data center wave. They're really diversifying their portfolio.
Exactly.
And tapping into a wide range of sectors that need what they offer.
Yeah, they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, which is always a good thing from a risk management perspective.
Right. That diversification helps them be more resilient to any economic fluctuations.
Exactly.
So it's like they're building this strong foundation with their global products, and then they're expanding into these different markets with their customized building solutions.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about, their growth prospects, their strategic investments, their focus on sustainability, but I want to be realistic here.
Sure.
There are always challenges, right?
Of course.
No company is perfect.
No company operates in a vacuum.
So what are some of the potential headwinds or bumps in the road that JCI might face moving forward?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, competition is fierce in this market.
Right.
They're not the only player offering these kinds of solutions.
Right. They've got to stay ahead of the competition.
Exactly. They need to constantly innovate and differentiate themselves.
Yeah. Complacency is dangerous in any industry.
Especially one that's evolving as rapidly as this one.
Okay. So what else? What else should investors be watching out for?
One thing to keep in mind is the global economic landscape.
Okay.
While JCI has a global presence, economic downturns in key regions could impact their overall performance.
Right.
We've already seen some hints of this in certain markets, so it's something to monitor closely.
So even though they have that diversification,
Right.
they're not totally immune to those macroeconomic factors.
Exactly. No company is completely immune to those larger economic forces.
Okay. And you brought up an interesting point earlier about technological disruption.
Yeah,
Could there be new technologies that emerge
right.
that, threaten JCI's position in the market?
It's always a possibility.
Oh.
We're seeing a lot of exciting developments in areas like AI, the Internet of Things, building automation.
Right.
And JCI needs to make sure they're embracing these advancements.
So they have to stay ahead of the curve. It's not just about, leading in those traditional building systems.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to become a tech-savvy company as well.
Absolutely. They need to be at the forefront of the digital transformation of this industry.
Okay, so there are definitely some challenges on the horizon, but it sounds like JCI is aware of these potential headwinds,
Yeah, they seem to be taking them seriously.
and they're taking steps to address them.
From what we gathered on the call, it seems like they're taking a very proactive approach.
So they're not just sitting back,
No,
hoping for the best.
they're actively shaping their future.
Okay, that's good to hear.
It's a good sign.
Now, before we move on to the fun part of the show,
Okay.
where we make some wild predictions,
The outrageous trade ideas.
I want to touch on something we haven't really discussed yet,
Okay.
and that's JCI's leadership.
Yeah, their CEO, George Oliver,
Yeah,
he's been at the helm for this transformation.
he seems like a pretty impressive leader.
He's made some bold moves.
Right, like divesting that automotive battery business
Yeah.
to really focus solely on these building solutions.
The big strategic shift.
And now he's stepping down.
Right. He's announced his retirement.
So did they say anything on the call about a successor?
They did touch on the CEO succession plan.
Okay.
The board is actively searching for a replacement, considering both internal and external candidates.
So it's a mystery for now.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
But whoever takes over has got some big shoes to fill.
Absolutely. George Oliver has set a high bar.
Right.
The next CEO will really need to maintain that momentum and continue driving innovation.
Okay. All right. Enough about the future. Let's have some fun in the present.
Okay, let's do it.
Are you ready for our This Is Not Financial Advice segment? All right. So listener, get ready for this.
Here we go.
Based on everything we've learned about JCI,
Okay.
their growth prospects, their strong leadership, their commitment to sustainability,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going all in on, wait for it, Johnson Controls branded smart toilets.
Smart toilets. Hold on. I thought we were talking about buildings.
Well-
Okay.
But think about it. Every building needs toilets, right?
Yeah.
And with JCI's expertise in smart technology,
Okay.
they could create these incredible self-cleaning, water-saving, even energy-generating toilets
Okay.
that would revolutionize the bathroom experience.
I mean, it's not the craziest idea I've ever heard,
Right.
but JCI doesn't really make consumer products.
Okay, maybe it's a little far-fetched,
Just a tad.
but I'm sticking to my core thesis.
Okay.
JCI is a solid company
Uh-huh.
with a bright future.
Agreed.
They're innovative, they're adaptable, and they're really well positioned to capitalize on those major trends that are shaping the building industry.
I think that's a fair assessment.
So whether it's smart toilets or smart buildings,
Okay.
I'm bullish on JCI.
All right. I appreciate the enthusiasm.
Of course.
But remember, everyone, this is purely hypothetical.
Of course, always.
We're not giving financial advice.
Never.
This is just us having a little fun,
Right.
exploring some wacky possibilities.
Exactly.
So please don't make any investment decisions based on our ramblings.
All right, back to serious mode.
Okay.
Any final thoughts for our listener before we wrap up this part of our deep dive?
Yeah, I think the key takeaway from this episode is that JCI is a company worth watching.
Okay.
They're really at the forefront of some major trends shaping this industry.
Right.
And they're executing their strategy effectively.
Yeah.
So whether or not you choose to invest in their stock, I think their story is a fascinating one.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right.
All right, folks, that's it for part 2 of our deep dive into Johnson Controls. We've covered a lot of ground, but hopefully you've come away with a better understanding of this dynamic company and the forces shaping the future of buildings. We'll be back soon for our final segment, where we'll answer your questions and explore even more about JCI's place in the world. Until then, keep those brains buzzing.
And those portfolios growing.
And remember, always stay curious. All right, welcome back to Talk Tickers. It is the final stretch of our deep dive into Johnson Controls.
The home
And we saved the best part for last.
the most irresponsible part.
Exactly. Our This Is Not Financial Advice segment.
Where we just let our imaginations run wild.
Let loose a little bit. Have some fun.
A little speculation.
Always remember, folks, this is purely hypothetical.
Of course.
We are not financial advisors. You should always do your own research
Always. Always.
before making any investment decision.
Absolutely.
This is just for entertainment.
Purely for entertainment.
Chance to maybe think outside the box a little bit
Bounce some ideas around.
based on what we've learned.
Yeah.
Okay, listener, are you ready for this?
Hit me.
All right, so based on everything we've uncovered about JCI,
Okay.
their dominance in data centers, they're pushing for sustainability, they've got that global reach.
Yeah, they're a big player.
I'm thinking something bold, something unexpected.
I'm intrigued.
I'm buying Johnson Controls branded sustainable gardening kits.
Gardening kits. Sweet.
Gardening kits. Think about it.
Okay.
JCI, they're all about sustainability,
Yeah.
creating a healthier planet.
Right.
They could leverage their expertise in energy efficiency, water management, even sensor technology to create these amazing gardening kits that would help people grow their own food in a sustainable way.
Okay. I see where you're going with this.
Right. Imagine JCI-powered hydroponic systems, smart irrigation controllers,
Okay.
solar-powered grow lights, the whole 9 yards.
All right. All right. You've got me on board.
Right. It's a perfect fit for their brand.
It does align with their overall mission.
And it could open up this whole new market for them.
Tap into that growing trend of urban farming and sustainable living.
Exactly. Exactly. JCI gardening kits
Oh,
flying off the shelves.
all right. I'll give you that one. It's creative.
It's out there.
It's out there, but it's interesting.
But hey, if it happens, remember where you heard it first.
All right. We'll give you credit.
But seriously, folks, remember this is all in good fun.
Always.
Investing is serious business.
Do your due diligence.
Make informed decisions.
Talk to a professional.
Absolutely. All right. So any final words of wisdom for our listeners as they continue their investing journey?
I think this deep dive into JCI has really reinforced a crucial point.
What's that?
Don't just chase the hype.
Right.
You got to look beyond the headlines, dig into those details.
Understand the company.
Yeah. Understand their strategy, their challenges, their opportunities.
Right. It's not just about, what's hot right now.
It's about looking at the bigger picture.
Exactly. Well said. I think this deep dive has actually left me feeling pretty optimistic.
Yeah,
It seems like the future of buildings is heading in a really positive direction
I agree.
towards greater sustainability, efficiency, integration.
And JCI is right there leading the charge.
They are. They are. All right, folks. Well, that concludes our deep dive into Johnson Controls.
Thanks for sticking with us.
We've covered a lot of ground.
From data centers to gardening kits,
We really ran the gamut today.
we did.
Hopefully you've come away with a better understanding of this company and its place in the world.
A fascinating company, no doubt.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, keep those brains buzzing.
And those portfolios growing.
And remember, always stay curious.